Hello, welcome to my channel. My name is Dale Hawthorne. What if I were to tell you that you could get the content of an acclaimed course in personal leadership development from a top business school for a modest price, that you could get this information for a modest price? Would you be interested in that? So I'm going to be pointing you to how to get the content and some others on how to develop that. And I'm going to be putting us also with my gifted and talented and Christian playlist also, because people of high IQ will, whether they seek it or not, may find themselves in positions of leadership, and they may need to develop themselves as leaders. And I think this would be very helpful, especially for people of high IQ as well. So, in the fall of 1995, I took a course at the Weatherhead School of Management, Case Western Reserve University, the course that was mentioned in Daniel Goleman's book on emotional intelligence, Managerial Assessment and Development Management 403. The course which is the one which was discussed in the book. There are current in the business world, we talk about emotional intelligence, which is largely character and maturity and servant leadership as well. And the content of that course is largely in the first book, which I've linked, but you'll also find things which will carry through to the next two books, which I'm going to talk about. And the first one is Primal Leadership, Learning to Lead, Unleashing the Power of Emotional Intelligence, Learning to Lead with Emotional Intelligence, as the previous title too, and it's Daniel Goleman, Richard Boyatzis, Annie McKee, and this is the one which I've gone through several times. And also, the next one, which builds upon this one, is Resonant Leadership by Richard Boyatzis and Annie McKee. Apparently, by this time, they decided to go beyond Daniel Goleman, becoming a resonant leader, is the third one. These three right here. And the courses deal with how to do this, guiding us. And I encourage you, if you're in a position of leadership wherever you are, consider these. Consider these. Start with the first one, Primal Leadership. And there's next thing I'm going to tell you is some reasons why. Wrong one. We'll get to that one in a moment. Primal leadership. The authors distinguish between resonant leadership and dissonant leadership and explain these leadership styles. Visionary, coaching, affiliative, democratic, pace setting, and commanding. All these right here. Guiding people through shared dreams, shared culture, coaching people to go beyond the way they are, linking their strengths, culture, weaknesses, and personal goals to the long-term goals of the organization. Affiliative, emotional ties, shared concern for each other, team building in the right way, not just some sort of feel-good play activities, but shared concern, leading people to be with each other. Democratic, connecting people to the organization by listening to them and involving them in the process of getting ideas, making decisions, and setting direction. Pace setting, dissonant leadership. The first are resonant. Now we're on to the two ways of dissonant. The leader holds and exemplifies high performance standards and demands the same from others. Commanding, dissonant. The leader commands, often demanding immediate compliance without any explanations. So my experience has been is the most prevalent, way people see leadership is often through commanding and then pace setting, and really don't think much about the other four styles. And the thing is, the commanding style is marked as least effective. It tends to management by threat and intimidation. And the whole style intends to ratchet up the stress upon the people that are counterproductive in the long run. And the other one, pace setting, tends to be characteristic of managers, leaders who are technically adept imagine themselves to be technically adept, and they tend to be out in front of everyone doing everything. And this one also tends to ratchet up the stress upon the people in the organization and puts people in survival mode. Dissonant leadership, the last two styles, the most common styles, tend to discourage, burn out, and drive away people and drive them home with chronic stress. So I believe that a lot of turnover comes down to dissonant leadership, use of these two styles, and overuse, especially the commanding style. And where do people learn this? On page 155 of Primal Leadership, people pick up their leadership habits rather haphazardly over the course of life through repeating what they see their models do, or through repeating their own attempts at leading. Repeating what doesn't work, what other people, leaders do, which stress out, and they may get short-term results, but long-term, they get fired, they have a lot of turnover even among leaders when they go in these dissonant styles. And people who go in these dissonant styles, it's repeating insanity after insanity. And this is probably why poor leaders often look like that common definition of insanity. Keep doing the same thing while expecting different results. And people often come into places of leadership without any effective personal coaching on leadership and management. So they simply follow what they've seen, what they've heard, what they've imagined to be effective leadership, and they fall into dissonant leadership. The dissonant styles also look a lot like what people consider to be the classic military model of leadership, commanding and pace setting. And the U.S. military has, in fact, within the past 20 years, generally found the leaders who are more effective are not those who are concentrating on pace setting dissonant, but also the other four styles. And if you look, there's a classic movie which Jimmy Cagney plays William F. Halsey during the critical times in the Pacific. And he's dealing a lot more with the resonant styles in the movie. The movie is called, I believe, The Gallant Hours. Yeah, The Gallant Hours. It's worth watching, worth considering. And also, because again, you could, if you don't want to go on and look at the scriptures right now, you can drop this right here. But I'm going to, for the people who are Christians among us who take the Bible seriously, we're going to look at what the Bible has to say about this. Jesus himself talking about servant leadership. Verse 25 to 26. The kings of the Gentiles exercise lordship over them, and those in authority over them are called benefactors. But not so with you. Rather, let the greatest among you become as the youngest, and the leader is one who serves. Or who's greater, the one who reclines at table or the one who serves? It is not the one who reclines at table, but I am among you as one who serves. In the secular world, there are people who do talk about servant leadership, but Jesus was there first. And a lot of times people think that even in the pastor, to be a hotshot pastor, you need to be the commanding and the pace setting. And I've had people who tried to supervise me in different types as I was learning and getting into the pastors. People who were into the pace setting and the commanding style, throwing out the directions. Pace setting, trying to set the great example of the go-getter, the runner. Well, I think that verse 25 kind of talks about exercising authority, not in the way that the Gentiles do, not so with you in verse 26, to be the youngest, the leader is one who serves. I think that would mean that we need to consider a lot more what was given earlier in the video as the resonant style. So, leaving that with you, consider it, pray about it. If you're a pastor, if you're in Christian leadership or any Christian organization, consider these things. So, I thank you for your time. I thank you for your attention, and I hope that you'll also like, subscribe, and also look at my other videos too as well, because I think you find other things there that interest you. So, thank you.